A look at the legacy of the former Star Trek star Nichelle Nichols, best known for playing Lieutenant Uhura, who's died, age 89.
Before her demise, Nichelle Nichols, best known for portraying Lieutenant Uhura on Star Trek, finally spoke out against the discrimination and adversity she faced backstage. Having kept silent for years, her confession has finally uncovered a side of the Star Trek that everybody was unaware of. Let's demystify the information on what happened on Star Trek set. The untold struggles behind the Star Trek legacy. When Star Trek was initially launched in 1966, audiences were subjected to an innovative form of science fiction that showed a world where people of different backgrounds could live in harmony and work together. Among the key players in this multicultural team was Nichelle Nichols, who portrayed the character of Lieutenant Uhura. She was remembered for her own calm bearing, ability, and dignity as she sat at the communications console in her red uniform. Nichols' performance was important not just as a character aboard a spaceship, but also as one of the early high points in the history of American television. At a time when black women were usually portrayed in terms of serving up negative stereotypes, Nichols played a role that defied expectation. Her role, Uhura, was not that of maid, servant, or secondary character. Rather, she was an integral part of the crew. This was a historical first. Nichols was part of the initial cohort of black women included in a mainstream TV program whose character was not exclusively determined by her race or societal status. To many viewers, specifically young black girls, Uhura was an inspiration for possible success. She provided evidence that it was possible for people who looked like them to do important, powerful things. Nichols spoke more in her later years about her experience working on the set. She spoke freely about her experiences. Fans have been passing rumors around for decades regarding the mistreatment and difficulties she experienced backstage. Nichols validated a number of those accounts, providing individuals with a greater understanding of her struggle and the strength she required to endure. Her portrayal as Uhura was not only a milestone for diversity, but also a test on a personal basis. It was groundbreaking in several respects, and its impact extended beyond television. Young girls like Whoopi Goldberg looked up to her. Goldberg noted that seeing Uhura made her understand that black women had their place in space in the future. Mae Jemison, who was later the first black woman to go into space, also stated that Nichols was an inspiration to her. These were milestone moments that proved how one depiction could change desires, open doors, and affect lives. It wasn't easy for Nichols. She was ignored and left out at times. Her face was missing from promotional pictures, and her lines were shortened or cut back regularly. Even though she was worthy of a greater role, scripts had nothing more than a couple of words for her character. It seemed like some producers did not want her to be greatly featured on camera. Let us look at where it all started before we delve further into this. Nichelle Nichols. The trailblazers making Nichelle Nichols was born December 28, 1932, in Robbins, Illinois, to Grace Dell Nichols. She had 5 siblings. Her father, Samuel Earl Nichols, was a factory employee and served as the mayor and chief magistrate of Robbins. Her mother, Lichia Nichols, was a stay-at-home mom. Nichols didn't like her first name, so she requested a different one from her parents. They proposed Nichelle, telling her that it was Victorious Maiden. The family later moved to an apartment in Chicago's Woodlawn neighborhood. Nichols attended Englewood High School and graduated in 1951. She began taking dance classes at the Chicago Ballet Academy at age 12. Nichols started working as a dancer and singer in Chicago. She toured the United States and Canada, performing with legendary bands like Duke Ellington and Lionel Hampton. She was the lead dancer in the film Porgy and Bess in 1959. Her acting breakthrough was when she performed in Kicks and Company, a musical by Oscar Brown, which, although unsuccessful, was noticed by Hugh Hefner. Hefner was impressed with her talent and took her on at his Chicago Playboy Club as a singer. Nichols diversified her work by acting in various productions, including Carmen Jones in Chicago and Porgy and Bess in New York. She also did side work as a model. In what challenges did she face? January 1967, Nichols was on the cover of Ebony magazine. She appeared in 2 additional articles over the next 5 years. She continued to tour with Ellington's and Hampton's bands. On the West Coast, she performed in The Roar of the Grease Paint and For My People. Her work in James Baldwin's Blues for Mr. Charlie met with approval. Prior to her iconic stint as Lieutenant Uhura on Star Trek, Nichols appeared in a guest spot on Gene Roddenberry's initial series, The Lieutenant, in a race prejudice episode. Why was Nichols so eager to depart Star Trek? What was she experiencing that she couldn't handle? The choice which changed Nichelle Nichols' life. Nichelle Nichols played Lieutenant Uhura on Star Trek, and her appearance on screen was striking immediately. She was not only a figure on a science fiction show, she was a symbol of progress, strength, and potential. As one of the first black women in a non-stereotypical role on American television, she proudly stood out as part of a diverse crew on the Starship Enterprise. She stood tall in her uniform, did her job with professionalism, and demonstrated that she wasn't only a member of the bridge crew, but also had a place in the future. Life wasn't as easy behind closed doors. Nichols would later admit that she had moments of being disappointed and frustrated. She felt that sometimes her job was overlooked. A few of her lines were cut, and her character's purpose was lessened. Even though she was a trailblazer, she felt her work was being diminished. She chose to leave the show during a difficult time. Nichols loved acting on stage. Working as an actress on Broadway was what she had always dreamed of, and following the first season of Star Trek, she was able to return to theater. It was perhaps a moment for her to shift and change. As she visited Gene Roddenberry, the writer of the series, she resigned. He listened to what she had to say and did not attempt to dissuade her. He instead told her to take the weekend to think about her choice. If she still felt that way on Monday, he assured her that he would back her decision. That weekend was an important milestone in Nichols' life. She went to a banquet sponsored by the NAACP, where she learned of a fan who wished to meet her. Believing it would be a Star Trek fan, she was shocked to see Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. making his way to greet her at the function. He spoke to how significant her work was, not only for entertainment purposes, but for the way that it reflected Black Americans. He told her that her Star Trek role was important, such as a speech or protest, and that it opened doors and had the ability to change minds. Hearing those words, Nichols could not get out. She returned to Roddenberry's office on Monday morning. When she read Dr. King's words to him, Roddenberry teared up. He always believed in a multicultural cast and had fought for Nichols to be included. He supported her when she complained of being discriminated against and allowed her to have input on her personality. His support provided her with space to grow, and now, with the inspiration from Dr. King, she gained the strength to stay. Roddenberry believed in a better world. He saw a future where race, gender, and origin would never keep anyone from being great. Nichols proved that this vision was possible. Her character was not supposed to be the one that stood out for being different. She was there because she did an excellent job. She was smart, talented, and respected. Roddenberry made sure to stress this from the start and made sure that she had an important part on the show. Nichols played an important part in history by staying on Star Trek. Her decision inspired others, such as Whoopi Goldberg, who was inspired by watching Uhura on television as a child. Goldberg had never seen a black woman portrayed in that way before. This inspired her to be part of Star Trek, The Next Generation as Guinan, a role created just for her. Mae Jemison, the first black female in space, credited Nichols with making her think about her dream. Nichols didn't leave Star Trek when it got difficult, though. She remained because she knew that it was something important. She chose to remain, face challenges, and be a role model to others. She had Roddenberry's support and Dr. King's influence, so she realized that her place on the bridge was not simply a job. It was an opportunity to help create a better future. But this was not where the problems ceased for Nichols. She the Interracial Kiss was also confronted with other controversy that not only impacted her career, but her reputation as well. The Interracial Kiss controversy in 1968, something important happened on television that revolutionized the way Americans perceived love, race, and bravery. This act occurred on an episode of Star Trek titled Plato's Stepchildren. The kiss was brief, but its impact was lasting. On this episode, Actress Nichelle Nichols, who played Lieutenant Uhura, kissed actor William Shatner, who played Captain James T. Kirk. This kiss was historic in that it was among the very first interracial kisses ever broadcast on American television. The historical moment was led up to with a great deal of tension, resistance, and courage. NBC, the network that was broadcasting Star Trek, was concerned about the reaction of the viewers. America was then grappling with harsh racial tensions, and the presence of a black woman and a white man